Hello and welcome back to the ExtraTime Talk podcast where we talk football and only football. I'm your host Shivan Mohindra and joined by me today two big Newcastle fans, Andrew and James. How are you today, lads?
I'm good, thank you, except for the result yesterday.
Yeah, same as me really. Pretty awful considering our recent form, but can't win them all.
Right. Yeah, we're following Man United's example.
Hey. Alright. So last week we saw Arsene Wenger. Finally, his reign at Arsenal is going to be coming to an end. He's left a legacy behind, started off exceptionally, and in recent years we're starting to see a bit of a slump in his form. Let's take a look. Let's take a look through his years and his legacy at Arsenal. Andrew, how will you be remembering Arsene Wenger?
I think it's been widely discussed over the last week or so, but I think you see it in two halves, don't you? You see the first half, which was really good, amazing. For me, the best team in Premier League history were the Invincibles for style of play, not necessarily success, because obviously Man U's treble-winning side won the Champions League. So, but I feel when I used to watch that team, I would make sure I watched them because their football was phenomenal. I think his legacy then after 2006 is that he didn't win. They haven't won a title. They were always a very soft core to the team. He didn't address problems in centre back or defensive midfield. He was very stubborn. Kept sticking with youngsters. The likes of Bettner, Danielson, players who really weren't up to playing for Arsenal. But I think if you look at it over the last few years, he has won 3 FA Cups, which, as a Newcastle fan, I would love. I'm sure Arsenal, Tottenham fans would love as well. You can criticise, but he has won 3 FA Cups. So, but I think after all the dust has settled, he's going to be remembered for creating three Premier League winning sides and playing some of the best football the Premier League has ever seen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when he first came to England, obviously he was an unknown, and he revolutionised almost the way that football was played here. It was still very much blood and thunder, and he created a style of play that wasn't just all about just getting the ball in the box and getting the ball forward. It was more possession-based. It was more intricate. He developed players like Henry, Will Todd, and people like that who had a lot more sort of style to their game over just like the substance of the players that we were used to seeing in the Premier League for the first sort of 10 years, 7, 8 to 10 years. I agree. The Invincibles were incredible in terms of their resilience, and that was obviously his peak. I think it's very, in terms of his legacy, I think it's very easy to look back over the last 10 years and look at the, as Andrew said, the sort of soft core sides and the sides that have buckled under pressure and have maybe not fulfilled their potential because of a variety of reasons. I think it's easy to look at those sides and remember him for that, when really we should be looking at like a period of English football between sort of like 96, 97 all the way through to 2006, 2007, where they were an outstanding side, had some of the best players in the world that were developed under Wenger. And I think it was almost his stubbornness and his refusal to sort of continue to develop that has cost him over the last 10 years. But there's no shadow of a doubt the Premier League would not look like it is today if it wasn't for him and the sort of style that he brought.
Right, yeah, great points. I mean, the guy was in charge for over 20 years, so tremendous amount of respect for sticking with the team and battering through the hatred he's been getting lately. And I know he's put out some comments saying that he does want the farewell that he deserves. But I just want to throw out a quick question. Is now the right time for him to be leaving? Should he have an extra couple of years? Should he have gone 4 or 5 years ago? Because, he's recently bought, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Konstantinos, the youngster. He's bought some young people so it's sort of creating that Arsene Wenger type of team that I think is very important. A manager should have the connection with the players, and he should be buying the players that he wants. So would 5 years down the line Arsene be able to relive some of the success he had in the past? I mean, if they go ahead to win the Europa League this season, they'll have Champions League football next season. I mean, a very valiant effort against Atletico Madrid in their first leg, but do you think this is the right time? 4 years early, 5 years ahead?
I think it's the right time for him to go. I think it's the embarrassment of the Champions League games last year. To lose 10-2 on aggregate is just unacceptable for Arsenal. I think as well defensively he spent really badly. He hasn't been able to organise the team. You know, Mustafi, I mean, I saw him last week. He's been 35 million. He doesn't get criticised much. That is a lot of money for a defender. You know, he's bought. The players seem to have kind of. You can see it with Ox. Some of the players have regressed under Wenger, whilst when he went to Klopp and someone new came in, some fresh ideas, you can see the Ox is playing more consistently. Whilst, you know, I mean, the classic example is Theo Walcott. He's someone, I know he scored against us on one day, but he's someone who could have possibly it would have been interesting to see if Theo under a different manager would have been, you know, much fulfilled his potential. But I think under Arsene, it's not being quite as it is. You know, there's a few at Arsenal, Iwobi, you know, Welbeck, all of them, they're just a bit flattering to deceive. They could have been much, much better, I think.
Yeah, I think going back to the original question, I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes at Arsenal than probably maybe people think about, and I think if he was any other manager, he'd have probably gone maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I think that these FA Cup successes of recent years have maybe sort of papered over the cracks a little bit. I think that the board at Arsenal have tied his hands a little bit in terms of, they've bought like 1 or 2 big players each season for the last sort of 3 or 4 years, but they haven't been anywhere near competing financially with the other teams that are up there in the Premier League. And I think they've almost seen him as a safe pair of hands. He's got them consistently in the top 4. They thought that pretty much, you know, they could balance the books and still maintain Champions League football while they're still paying off the stadium and all of that. So I think really, I think he's been kept on there as almost to be used as a little bit of a scapegoat. And I think that if it was any other manager and any other board, then it'd have probably gone, 3-4 seasons ago when it was clear that the team was in decline. But I completely agree with the point that he's bought a lot of youngsters that have never quite hit that height, and possibly I think that fresher ideas earlier could have maybe got more out of those players, and they would have been better, and their careers have stagnated as a result.
Yeah, I agree with those points. I would have liked Arsene Wenger to stay a bit longer just for the sake of Arsenal fan TV, but I mean, jokes aside, I think that's
an incredible invention.
Now's the right time to go, and winning the Europa League would be the dream farewell for him. His first European trophy,
Definitely.
Getting the respect he deserves, no hatred, etc. Because the Premier League's an absolute flop again this season, so I guess they've got something to salvage in Europe at least. Let's take a look at who will be his successor. Who do we fancy to take over Arsenal, this Arsenal team? Let's just throw out some names to start with.
There's no clear front runner really, is there?
No.
There's like 6-7 names, all different types and so forth. I think the most important thing is the Arsenal fans have patience and and can wait a bit to see how he gets on, because they've got their wish. Wenger's leaving now, so personally I think they need quite a big personality. I would go for, if I was on the Arsenal board, I'd go for someone like Allegri or Ancelotti, but I'm not sure what they'll do, because I think it sounds to me like they're heading more to that kind of super coach. So someone like Patrick Vieira or Mikel Arteta, it sounds to me from what they're saying, is more likely to be the one they go for.
Yeah, it's interesting. They obviously this season they're going to finish 6th, possibly 7th, and it's going to be difficult for them to attract that massive name like your Ancelotti. They still obviously hold, like Arsenal as a football club and as a brand, almost still hold a lot. But I don't know. I mean, obviously you've got like Luis Enrique's been mentioned, Brendan Rodgers has been mentioned. I don't think they'll be happy with Brendan Rodgers, and I think he's very Marmite, obviously. I personally like him. I think they could do a lot worse than... I think, first of all, they have to use the mistakes that Man United made. I think they have to learn from those mistakes, and if they do spend... they've obviously gone through a process already where they've probably identified people. If they make their decision, I think they should stick with it, and they should give it 2 or 3 seasons for better or for worse, unlike Man United did. I think that they should... I personally would really like to see them give Eddie Howe a chance. I think that he plays a great style of football, which would be easy for Arsenal to transition into. I think he's very attacking, English manager. There's a lot of things there. I don't think they will go for him. I don't think he's got a chance. But, I personally would love to see that, considering the conversations around British coaches not being given the opportunities and the bigger jobs, it'd be nice to see what happens if one actually did get the chance. But, I can't see them going for anyone else apart from Ancelotti or Enrique, personally.
So where I stand on this matter is that by process of elimination, I'd eliminate Allegri and Simeone to start with. I think they're a bit too defensively minded, and managing in the foreign league, they don't have experience in the Premier League. And I don't think Arsenal fans would be happy with such a defensively organized... I know they need the help defensively, but with the money that they've spent up front, I think Allegri and Simeone won't be able to do full justice there in that range. Next, who I'd rule out is Ancelotti. I don't think they have the name yet, and I don't think Ancelotti would want to go to Arsenal at this point in time.
London club, right?
I don't know. If they don't get Champions League football, I see no chance of Ancelotti wanting to go there.
Agree.
That leaves you with Luis Enrique, who I support, and I'd like to throw another name into the hat. Similar to Eddie Howe, I'd go for Sean Dyche, another manager who hasn't had the chance on the big stage, but the tremendous amount of success he's had at Burnley deserves some commendment. So I think the Arsenal job, maybe on a temporary scale to give him sort of a test at one of the bigger clubs would be good. The style of football he plays, etc. Eddie Howe's a good shout, but he hasn't really done much this year at Bournemouth in terms of exceeding expectations. So I'd rule him out there.
Howe hasn't had obviously he hasn't achieved in the same way that Dyche has, but obviously he's carried a very small club, and there's, you have to be honest, they're still punching way above their weight, obviously just being in the Premier League. Right. I think Dyche is a great shout. I think that he would solve a lot of the issues that Arsenal have had in terms of their structure and defensive resilience, which has obviously been such an Achilles heel for them over the years. But it's just whether a case of he can obviously, that's what his Burnley teams have been based on, and it's the question mark hanging over him is whether he would be able to manage a team that would go out and dominate other teams with the ball rather than playing on the counter attack.
Yeah.
Do you guys not feel that Sean Dyche or Eddie Howe might be similar to David Moyes? I think David Moyes' biggest problem with managing Man United is he didn't realise how big Man United is. He, statements like, "Oh, we need to play a lot more like City or Liverpool." Just the very naive comments, which maybe if he'd managed a middle club like an Everton or a Spurs or someone like that, then he might be ready for Man City, Man United jobs.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think that's a completely fair point. I think it would hold a lot of similarities in there. I don't know. I think Moyes was playing. He played I think looking at on the pitch, the style of football that Moyes played wasn't like the Man United way as such, and it was such a difference. And I don't think he ever really had a specific style of play or way he set up his teams, or an idea as such. So I think that's where he fell down most, because he just didn't know how to break down teams. So I think Howe would probably be better in terms of attacking, but he'd want to mould the two ideally.
Yeah, and then in terms of Vieira and Arteta, I'd rule both of them out. I think Vieira's not had experience in Premier League or even football in general. He's managing at the MLS, which is a completely different tactics and environment, etc. So I don't think he's fit for the Arsenal job yet. And Arteta as well hasn't had head coach experiences yet. So I don't think he's one to consider either, as they're looking to get some immediate success to really lift the spirits at the club right now. So I think that gives us a few names to shout about. We have Enrique, Daesh, and Howe. Andrew, anything you wanted to?
I was just going to say, I think the one thing with Vieira and Arteta, which is different, is I think the fans would give them more time because they've been players.
Correct, yeah.
Whilst an outsider, especially Vieira, I think if Vieira came, he's more likely to get a bit more time because he's an invincible, and he was, they haven't replaced him since he left.
Yeah,
no, exactly.
Yeah, so I think he's the one person who'd get a bit more time. But
similar to Zidane at Madrid.
Yeah, agreed. The MLS is a completely different monster to managing in the Premier League.
Yeah. Right, good points. Champions League is back. The first leg's over. Liverpool dominating Roma, and the slightly closer tie, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. Madrid going 2-1 up with the away goals. What do we predict for the next round? Can Bayern come back?
I don't think so. I think Real Madrid have done their bit, and I think they'll have learnt from the Juventus second leg that they cannot go into a game being complacent.
Yeah.
Because I think they the penalty is very debatable. Whether Vasquez dived, whether the referee was too nice, but I think Real Madrid will have learnt from that. I still think Real Madrid are really bad at the back. I think they're still very, very weak. Marcelo in particular. Just leaves so many gaps. He's so good going forward, obviously, but he is leaving huge gaps. So, I think Bayern's problem at the moment is they're finding the Bundesliga a bit too easy, and I don't know if they can turn it on for the huge games because their squad is incredible. You could argue they've got the best squad in Europe. So I think it'll be very interesting from that point of view. But, Juventus came back last time, so you don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think Bayern's squad is it's great. I think it's aging, and I think there's the similarities can be held with PSG as such. They walk their domestic title so easily that I think when it comes to those sort of blockbuster ties in Europe, the step up is just almost too much for them, and the tempo. I think Real will go through. I don't think they'll have any real problems, to be honest. I agree that they're suspect at the back, and you never really know what Sergio Ramos is going to do. But I can't see them being in the driving seat. Can't see them relinquishing like 2 away goals. I just can't see it happening. I think Real Madrid are pretty much in the final already.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't be so confident because if you had asked me about 2 months ago, I'd have a really similar attitude with James in the sense that they're just going to steamroll over Bayern at home. But after that Juventus game, coming literally down to the last minute, I actually give Bayern a chance here. And in terms of defense, I think their biggest liability is actually Keylor Navas, making several mistakes in recent times. And I wouldn't necessarily say Marcelo because I know he leaves a lot of gaps, but his build and his pace, etc., allows him to recover very easily and really dominate at the back if he really needs to. So I actually really rate him as one of the great left backs. But at the end of the day, I do see Real Madrid going through. I think it will be close. It might go into extra time, but I think Real Madrid will come out at the top. Zidane pressure on him to actually get a bit more success as he didn't do too well in the domestic league. Yeah, and let's move. The second tie, I guess it's Liverpool all the way, I presume. That's definitely my bet, and I don't even think it will be close. I think it will be a comfortable win. They might even win the second leg, but I'm almost certain they'll be going through to the finals.
I think Liverpool will. The thing is, they'll definitely score. Roma's defence was too slow to deal with Salah and Firmino and Mane. So as long as Mane's fit, I think he missed the weekend game, didn't he? So as long as Mane's fit as well, I think they'll definitely because they're going to score because Roma's defence was just too slow. Kolarov and Florenzi's wing backs were slow. The centre backs were just struggled, and that's perfect for Liverpool because they can counter attack and to score. Yeah. Though Salah did miss 1-on-1 on the weekend. He showed he is human after all.
First one of the season. I think Roma in the first leg were awful. I think that they I mean, how they managed to beat Barcelona 3-0, like based on that performance against Liverpool, is utterly incredible. I'd say they were slow. They looked like, I mean, they looked awful. They didn't know whether to press all over the park. They didn't know whether to sit off and get men behind the ball. They were at 6 and 7. They were everywhere. Obviously, Liverpool gave them the faintest of faint hopes. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool are definitely going to score at least one. I think the way that they approached the game against Man City in the last round will be exactly how you see them approach the game in this tie as well. I think that they'll have so much confidence, and I think barring conceding 2 goals in the first 20 minutes, I think that they'll absolutely breeze through. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a general consensus there that they're going to go through. Looking at the other European Cup, Europa League, Arsenal versus Atletico Madrid being again the headliner there, 1-1 after the first leg going to Madrid. Can Arsene Wenger overturn no real deficit actually, but the away goal advantage? Can he overturn that and win the tie?
I think it's going to be very difficult, and I think they've missed their best chance to play against 10 men, for 80 minutes. You're never going to get another chance like that again. The other thing is their away form in the Premier League has been absolutely shocking. 0 points in 2018, and though they have done well in Europa League away from home, they beat Milan, so it will be. I just can't see it. I can see Atletico playing a very defensive game but holding out, and I would think if Aubameyang was able to play, they might have a shot, but he's not. So I think it's more likely Atletico.
Yeah, stranger things have happened, but this isn't an Arsenal team of old that would go to Inter Milan or wherever and turn out a result. I mean, Atletico, I think it will suit them down to the ground. They know that Arsenal have to score. They know that they can sit back. They know that they can play on the counter-attack, which is exactly what they do best. And I think it will be cagey because Arsenal will be aware that they'll only need to win 1-0. And I think it will be a really tight. I don't think it will be an open, free-scoring game. That's not what Atletico are about. I think both teams will just try and defend. Atletico will be more than happy with a 0-0. It's what they do. So, yeah, I would call Atletico to go through quite comfortably. I just don't think Arsenal have the quality to break down a side of that ability.
Yeah, I'm going to actually have to partially disagree there, James, because I see that Atletico is definitely being breakable. We saw it with Leicester last year, or 2 years ago, in the Champions League against Atletico. Just unfortunate for them, the balls were just getting blocked all over the place. And we saw actually Jan Oblak making some excellent saves in the first leg. So that could prove to be Atletico's saving grace once again. But Arsenal do have a chance. I would say it's anybody's game as of now. I do see Atletico going through. I mean, I would like Wenger to have a nice send-off, etc. But I do think it will be Atletico. But I think it will be a chance, and Arsenal are more than capable of doing it if they're focused, diligent and disciplined at the back as well, and go out with some sort of concentration and structure.
I do agree. Yeah, no, I think they have got a chance. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them, and if they pull it off, it'll be probably one of the best results in Arsene Wenger's last sort of 7-8 years of management, to be honest. So, fingers crossed they can do it.
Jan Oblak looks like one of the best goalies in the world at the moment, doesn't he? He was fantastic last week. He is very good. I think if Liverpool want to improve their goal, he would be perfect for them, really.
Yeah, I think he's up there now. He's put himself up there. I think there's... I've been very, very impressed with what I've seen of him.
The last tie, Marseille versus Salzburg, 2-0 Marseille. Is that another game that's as good as over already?
Yeah, I think Marseille are really motivated by the fact that the final's in Lyon as well.
Right.
So I think they'll be definitely wanting to get to the final. They've improved a lot over the last couple of years, made some good signings, few Premier League rejects like Payet's not a reject, he was very good, Tovan and NG. They've done they've done very, very well. I think for the French league, they do need a strong Monaco, a strong Marseille, just to keep the French league a bit more exciting. When it's just PSG, 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 I'm sure French football fans do get a bit bored. So it would be nice to see if Marseille could get to the final.
Yeah, I think the experience. I think first of all, no away goal for Salzburg is going to be tough for them. I think Marseille have a lot more experience over the years in European competition. I think that will show through. I think they have players like there who have played on the top stage, whereas Salzburg are lacking that. It would obviously be a fairy tale considering the whole Salzburg story, but I think Marseille two goal advantage, no away goals to worry about. I think that they should see themselves through to the final, and as Andrew says, I think playing in Lyon will be a big plus for them, sort of on home soil as such, and in a big rival stadium.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I do see Marseille going through. On paper, they are the better side as well. And yeah, it'll just be a matter of if they can get the job done. They're hot favourites as well. Yep. Right. Any concluding points, lads? Let's just go quickly. Our prediction for tonight's game, Arsenal versus Man United, Wenger, Mourinho.
I can see it going 2-0 Man United, just because Arsenal will rest a lot of players. Because it'll be interesting to see how Alexis plays. Because he was very good last week. It was his best game for Man U last week. Yeah. So against his old team, it really turns up and puts in a performance.
Yeah, tough. I would probably call 1-1 or 2-1. I think it'll be a draw. I think that both sides have got their separate motivations. I know that Arsenal obviously will be resting players, but I think again the same. It's been such a historic, iconic Premier League battle. Wenger's last one. I think he'll really want to go out and sort of make a statement. But again, you have the story on the other side. Sanchez, United have been playing well. It could be a really interesting game. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it will be the best one for a few years. Hopefully, it will sort of reignite some of those old games that were proper battles.
Yeah, I predict 3-0 United, but what would the chances be if it's what would the scenes be if it's 8-2 again?
No, yeah, true.
Come on, that would
be hopefully not.
Amazing.
But
right.
Yeah, I mean that 8-2 game I think that's one of the biggest errors in Wenger's, Arsenal period, because it was just so embarrassing.
Right.
Yeah. It was awful.
Well, that's all for this week's episode. Be sure to drop your favourite for the new Arsenal boss and the Arsenal United game prediction if you get to this video before the game. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you.